Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm meadsy69 and welcome back to another tank versus tank video. Today we're going to look at the P44 Pantera versus the Progetto 46. I've decided to do this just as the Progetto has come into store, and you can make your mind up if you want to get the tank. Now, personally, I prefer the Progetto. However, the stats are pretty much all in the favor of the Pantera. Better DPM by over 300. Penetration much better, except for the Alpha. The Alpha is a little bit less, 240 on the Progetto, and the aim time is slightly better on the Progetto as well at 1.5. But also the gun depression. It's only 1 degree of gun depression, but sometimes that 1 degree is vital. But a lot of people will actually prefer the Pantera, and I mean, it's your choice. It is your choice. Everyone likes different tanks. The armor is also better on the Pantera as well, quite a considerable amount. But I honestly prefer the Progetto, and considering how much gold the Progetto has come for sale, I mean 8,500 gold, which I think is what it was last time when it first come for sale. I do honestly think that is a cheap tier 8 tank, and it's a fun tier 8 tank. But also the Pantera is a fun tank as well. It's got good DPM for an auto reloader. They are both Italian, they are both mediums, and they're both auto reloading tanks. And they're both really fun tanks to play. They both are. So should you buy the Progetto? Should you buy the Progetto if you've already got the Pantera? Again, it's up to you. It's up to you. If you haven't got much gold, or if you haven't got much money, then I would probably recommend, go for the Pantera. The stats are pretty good. You might prefer the Pantera than the Progetto, but me personally, I do prefer the Progetto. I prefer the higher alpha roll. You get higher rolls. I prefer the aim time. You can snapshot a little bit easier, and I do prefer the extra 1 degree of gun depression. But that's me. That is my preference. You might think differently. So we have got a couple of games in both. But as I've said, both tanks are really good tanks. And if you haven't even got the Pantera yet, I would definitely recommend going to get the Pantera. All 3 of these tanks in the line of the Pantera, the tier 8, the tier 9 and the tier 10, they are all fantastic tanks. The standard B in tier 9 is a great tank. The Progetto in tier 10, fantastic tanks, and these tanks have been nerfed, but yet they are still fantastic tanks that I really enjoy playing them. I really enjoy the auto reloading system. It's something that Wargaming has brought to the game that is actually really good. Not like missiles. They've actually brought something into the game. Something that makes you think, like, do I take this shot or do I reload? Or do I just release all 3 of my shells? Or do I only release 1 reload? Or do I release 2 and reload? Or do I just keep releasing all 3 and then shooting as one's reloaded? Now, that is, again, if you've got all 3 shells in your magazine, your DPM is going to go up. But I've always said, and if you look back at all the reviews I've had on auto reloading tanks, I have always said, if you have the shot, take it. Don't worry about like this. If I wouldn't wait for a second shell to be reloaded. I had 1 shell reloaded, I stopped, I penned him, and I'm on my way. And I did get a lucky bounce, but if I had 2 shells reloaded, I would have just been sat there. And I would have taken damage. So I've always said, if you can reload. If you can reload, then of course reload as many shells as you possibly can. But here, again, I just went out and I've got 2 shells remaining. I'm not going to just bother waiting to reload. We're just going to go for him. He's now a 1 shot, so we're going to wait for our 1 shell to be reloaded, and then we're going to take him out. And because there is no tanks yet nearby, we are going to go for the reload. We're going to reload as many shells as we possibly can. It might only be 1, it might be 2, but I mean, we only reloaded 1 shell there. The best thing about these 2 tanks is the reload between each shell is not that much. I mean, what, it's 4 seconds, 5 seconds? So it's not actually, well, actually it's 6 seconds, but it's not too bad. It's not too bad, and especially the Progetto, where you do have that higher, the higher alpha, it really isn't too bad. And you are still going to find yourself in so many situations where you can reload, because you're not always going to have a shot. You're not always going to have shots there. Maybe if I could have took this guy out a lot sooner, if I was using the T49 as protection and reloaded all 3 of my shells, maybe I could have took him out. But I mean, we still got the damage, we still got the kill, and now this is what I meant about reloading. We could reload a couple of shells. That was just a stupid shot, but I went for it. And again, here, we're not going to just chase this guy, because our Tiger P could shoot him. He could shoot him. Then if you're sitting there reloading all 3 of your shells, then the Tiger P may have taken him out before you've reloaded 2 shells. So I always stick to that. If you can reload, then reload. If you've got shots there, take the shots, because the shot might not be there by the time you have loaded your 2nd or 3rd shell. So I'm always going to stick to that. You might think differently. You might prefer, again, you might prefer to reload all 3 shells. You might prefer just to only ever shoot 1 shell at a time. Come back, reload that shell, and then shoot another shell. Again, it is totally up to you. Yeah, the DPM is going to be higher that way, but DPM, to be honest, isn't such an important stat, because you're never going to be able to. That DPM is there. That DPM is there. If this tank here is 2000 DPM, that's damage per minute. That means you've got to sit there constantly shooting for a minute. You're not going to do that. Like now, I've no longer got 2000 DPM because I'm not shooting my gun. So the DPM is only there when you've got the shots, when you've got the targets to shoot at. So I haven't shot for around 30 seconds. So of course, for this minute, my DPM's not going to be 2000. It's going to be much less, because we've already lost it. Well, it's going to be half. It's going to be 1000, because we hadn't had the shots off. So DPM isn't such a great stat that everyone thinks. Of course, you like high DPM. High DPM either means quick reload or high alpha quick reload. So yeah, people do look at it, but really don't take that so strongly in a battle, because it really doesn't mean nothing in a battle. Like I said, it only means something if you're sitting there constantly shooting your gun for a minute. That is when you get that DPM, but it's never the case. That is never the case. I mean, for the first minute of the game, you DPM 0. Like, you get tanks like the T30, crap DPM, fantastic tank. It's a great tank. So don't take our, I mean, don't turn around and say that, well, the Pantera's got 2,300, this has only got 2,000, which means it's a shit tank. Come back to me when you actually hit 2,300 DPM in a Pantera. It's going to be very rare that this happens. And of course, the DPM also goes by the average damage per shot. You're never going to hit that. You're never going to hit the average damage per shot for a whole minute. It's RNG. You're going to low roll, you're going to high roll. It's never going to be that. Sometimes you could have all 3 of your shells and they all low roll. I mean, in one of these games, I hit like 180 damage, which is poor. But so don't take the DPM as a proper stat that you need to look at to compare tanks. I take other things like the aim time, the accuracy, the gun depression, things like that. The turret, the turret's not a stat, but if you've got a strong turret and you've got gun depression, then of course you need to get into those positions where you can use that gun depression. And that is why I love this tank, because you can snapshot. The aim time is good, not like that. You can snapshot, you can use the ridges. You haven't got such a strong turret, but you can still, you don't have to show as much of your tank than you do the Pantera. So you can back up quick enough to not get shot. So even though you haven't got the armor, you can back up quick enough and you don't have to take no damage. So that is why I love this tank. I absolutely love this tank. It is one of my favorite premiums in the game after the Scorpion G. This is probably my 2nd favorite premium. I absolutely love it, and I love what Wargaming have done with the auto reloading system. I do not think the auto reloading system is OP. It's different. It's different to the auto loaders that we've got, and it does make you think, do I want to go for this shot, or do I reload a shell? Do I put all 3 shells into this guy? It does make you think about how you play the game and how you use your shots. So in store, the Progetto, fantastic tank, fantastic price. I mean, well done Wargaming. 8,500 gold I think is a really good price, considering the tech tree premiums are like 7,600, 7,800. This is less than 1,000 more, and it's not in a tech tree. So I think it's a very good price. It's a very good price at 8,500 damage, and it is a very 8,500 gold, and it's a very good tank to go with that price. So I would recommend it. If you like the Pantera, you will like this 100%. If you love the Pantera, you will love this tank as well. So that is basically it. That is the Pantera versus the Progetto. I've got a lot more coming up. I mean, some people are going to say I'm copying because Droodles at the moment is doing a lot of tank versus tanks, but I may add that I actually did my first Object 140 versus the T62 before he started doing it, but because he has just got so much content out lately, he's done a lot of tank versus tank videos. So I will catch up. I will do more. They are coming. So I hope you enjoyed the video, guys. I'm Meadsy, and I'll catch you all soon. Bye-bye. With